Hello, everybody. It is Al Night, it is Brony time, and welcome back to Let's Play Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy Dual Destinies. That's right, I am back after a long hiatus. Um, my treatment has recently been showing promise. I've been sleeping better, so I finally feel like I can record these videos without feeling awful afterwards. My medications finally started working. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's with your friends, family, whatever you were doing. But now it's time. It's time to return to Ace Attorney and hope to Gen 4 Revisited. It's time to get back to doing this. I wasn't sure if I was going to return this weekend, since just because I didn't know what my schedule was going to be. But Saturday is completely untapped, so I can record to my heart's content. So yeah, I believe when we last left off, we Athena Sykes is being accused of her own mother, and we started her trial. Miles Edgeworth has returned. A lot of stuff has happened. So now I think we just get right into this final case of this series, and of course the assistant ends up accused of murder again, because that happens every fucking game. So let's just get back into this. I did have to go back and watch my older videos to remember all the voices I did for these characters, so I know his voice. His voice is obvious. Simon isn't the murderer. He was trying to cover for someone. Someone else was at the scene at the time they say Simon committed the murder. I mean, if he really was out to steal that moon rock, then why the rolling case? Because he was using it to hide someone inside. That's why. And the only person small enough to fit inside that case was Athena Sykes. It's a clever theory, but it doesn't look like they have any solid proof. If I push, maybe I can uncover some flaws in it. Okie dokie, so... Sorry for the sniffles, guys. It's allergy season. Winter's one of the strongest allergy season months in Austin, and I'm a little sniffly. Was she, though? I don't think Athena's that small. But that's nothing more than conjecture, and it's hardly the only possibility. In that case, what do you think Prosecutor Blackwell had in that case? I think it was the moon rock.
Objection!
There were 3 cases at the scene, but Prosecutor Blackwell used the largest one. The moon rock was egg-shaped and only about 8 inches in diameter. It wouldn't have made any sense to use the largest case there just to move that rock.
Objection!
But be that as it may, it doesn't prove Miss Sykes was inside. Let me ask you this. Can you come up with a better theory of what was in the case? Well, Mr. Wright, can you? Yikes, give a guy some time to think. Let's see. Should I try to bluff my way through what could have been in that case? Obviously, if you're Phoenix Wright, you gotta bluff. I know exactly what Prosecutor Blackwell carried from the scene. Just have to find something else that was missing, right? No sweat. Oh, I'd be very interested in hearing your theory. If it's true, that is. This is the crime scene photo taken after Prosecutor Blackwell left, correct? All we have to do is compare this with this photo of Prosecutor Blackwell to see what's missing. If he took something with him, then it should be in one of these photos. Lady Luck, don't fail me now. Alright then, Mr. Wright. Let us hear your theory. What did Prosecutor Blackwell take from the scene of the murder? Huh. Well, I don't know, so we're just gonna have to wing it.
Take that!
He took this. I'm afraid I never heard mention of that being removed from the crime scene. He saw straight through that. Tell me you have something more substantial than that, right? Well, I have something more substantial for him. A penalty. Okay, so I was wrong. Not surprised. Better compare the two photos again. In this photo I see the operating table, the katana, a cart, and the stuff on said cart. Are any of those things different in this photo taken after the incident? What did Prosecutor Blackwell take from the scene of the murder? I already tried that and that didn't work. Oh, wait a minute. Is it this? If it's this, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, what? So that was a little extreme. But... I mean, it's this?
Take that!
Okay, that was it. I was on the right track, but... Please notice that there is a robot part on top of the cart in this photo. However, in this photo, taken after the crime, the robot part is gone. In other words, this part is something that was taken from the scene of the crime. You do appear to be right. I don't see it in the second picture. But it's just a piece of junk. How important could it be? Is it really just an insignificant robot part? Speaking of which... Oh, what are you looking at? I'm gonna start charging for each glance per eyeball. Stingy, stingy. What happened to the age of free previews? Your Honor, how about this robot part? Doesn't it look like it could be an arm from the robot that robot there? Well, now that you mention it, it does, doesn't it? But the case is still too big to be practical for just the moon rock and a robot arm. But what was... Sorry, but was it really just the one arm that was in there? If it wasn't Athena in the case, then maybe... I believe there was another robot at the scene that looks just like the one here. Your Honor, it is the defense's assertion that it was the other robot that was in the case. What?
Objection!
We can't be certain that part belonged to a robot. Yes, it looks like the arm of the one before us, but it could be something else entirely. Besides, it's wrapped entirely in bandaging, making it difficult to verify what it is.
Objection!
I know for a fact that it is a robot arm. I can even tell which robot it belonged to, just by looking at it. With this information, we can investigate whether it was there at the time or not. But Mr. Wright, I thought you were more of the technologically illiterate type. When did you become such an expert? I feel somehow abandoned. Not to worry, Your Honor. I still know next to nothing about about machines. But I know this piece of evidence proves which robot arm it belonged to.
Take that!
The robot in this picture is named Ponko. But take a look at Ponko's arm. It was Mrs. Sykes who bandaged it up like that. She must have thought that machines heal in the same way that people do. What an adorable, naive mistake. It reminds me of my own grandchild. Judge. Never change. The robot arm at the crime scene had the same bandaging wrapped around it. In other words, this robot arm could belong to none other than Ponko. Order in the court. Order, I say. Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you have to say to this? I can see that the robot is about the same size as its child, but it cannot grab its knees and curl itself into a ball. Curl itself up into a ball. Even if it was the largest of cases, the robot couldn't possibly have fit in there. The case does come up about to mid-die on Prosecutor Blackwell. I see your point. The robot is much taller than that. They've got me there. So then the Prosecutor Blackwell make Ponko fit into the case by... He dismantled her. That was the only way. Of course Ponko would fit. All Prosecutor Blackwell had to do was dismantle her. Once taken apart, the robot could have easily fit inside the rolling case. It appears to be a robot assembly device. I'm not going to read this because I already read it in another video. We don't need to reread it. Sounds rather violent, but Mr. Wright does have a point there.
Objection!
Except that there was a body on the table where the robots are dismantled and assembled. There would have been no room to take the robot.
Objection!
But what if it wasn't done on the table? What if the katana was used instead? You mean the sword? Yes, Your Honor. Miss Blackwell, I'd like your opinion as a woman of science. Isn't it true that a katana could have been used to take the robot apart? I suppose so. Their joints are made of a very tough material. A blade could slice through them. Thank you for your expert opinion, Miss Blackwell. Thanks to you, we now know that the existence of the severed arm in this photo proves that Ponko was taken apart. In addition, since the rest of Ponko was not found at the scene, we can conclude that the true meaning of this photo is very different from the original interpretation. You can't mean! That's exactly what I mean. This photo does not capture the moment of the murder. It instead is a picture of the moment after the robot was sliced apart. The blood you see on their arm was... The arm was cut off was... Sorry, the blood you see where the arm was cut off was transferred there by the bloody katana. Most likely the rest of Ponko is scattered around Prosecutor Blackwell's feet. Not hearing this. Therefore, what was transported inside the case was not the defendant, but a robot. Miss Sykes never was at the scene at the time of the murder. My head, my body, where am I? Yeah! Order in the court. Sorry. It's true that Ponko was found in pieces after the murder. And I'll admit I repaired her myself afterwards. Yes, I'm finally making some progress. Hope I've gotten at least one step closer to proving both Theta and Prosecutor Blackwell innocent. Well played, Mr. Wright. You made your point abundantly clear. I can see that it was the defendant inside the rolling case, but the robot. Alright, what is going on here? It's never good when he plays things this straight. Does the prosecution withdraw its claim that the defendant was carried from the scene? No, Your Honor. My claim hasn't changed.
Objection!
But Ponko and Miss Sykes couldn't have both been inside that case. The notion that the case was used to carry Miss Sykes was Miss Blackwell's theory. I have been of a different opinion from the outset. Now I finally have the opportunity to voice my theory. Thanks to the defense. Edgeworth has been one step ahead of me this whole time. In that case, how do you propose the defendant left the crime scene? Simple. The footage only shows Prosecutor Blackwell from behind. What's more, he's holding his arm in front of his body, as if he were holding something. Or someone. That's hardly evidence. I have proof. The circlet Prosecutor Blackwell was wearing. The victim's blood was found on the front of it, and the stain had a highly distinctive shape. A blood stain with a distinctive shape. Please continue, Prosecutor Edgeworth. 7 years ago, the defendant was known to constantly wear a certain item, of which there is only one in the world. A special pair of headphones made just for her. Analysis showed the bloodstain to be in the exact same shape as these headphones. In other words, this was no mere blood splatter. The blood went from the victim's body to the headphones and then was imprinted on Prosecutor Blackwell's coat like a stamp. Most gruesome stamp indeed. Blackwell carried Miss Sykes, who had been hit by a splatter, away from the crime scene. This proves that Athena Sykes was, without question, present at the crime scene. And that concludes the prosecution's argument. Order! If the defendant was indeed at the scene, it deepens the suspicion against her.
Objection!
But we also shown that the robot was there at the scene as well. I hope you're not making the ridiculous claim that a simple robot was the real murderer. I don't really think that, no, but you can't say the possibility isn't there. Detective Fulbright was the robot questioned at the time. No, I don't see any record of it. I believe it was considered unrelated to the case. But as it turned out, the robot was actually integrally related. Your Honor, the defense would like to call Ponko to the stand. A robot witness? Order! Order in the court! Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you think about this? Mr. Wright has called all manner of witnesses to the stand over the years, so why not a robot? Nothing surprises me anymore with him. Very well, I will allow the witness. Bailiff, please summon the robot named Ponko. Witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is not Witness. My name is Ponko. Yes, I realize that, but when you are at the witness stand, you are the witness. No, I'm not. I'm Ponko. Say it with me. Ponko. What an utterly inflexible little robot. You're the last person who should be calling anybody inflexible. You remind me of my grandchild who just learned his own name. Oh, how precious. Alright, Ponko, I'm going to ask you some questions. Questions? You have questions? Hooray! What are your questions? I want to know if you were there at the scene of the murder of Mrs. Sykes. It was 7 years ago on the 7th of October around 2 p.m. in the robotics lab. Certainly. Just one moment. Searching data. Search complete. Yes, I was there in the robotics lab. It would seem this robot's testimony is necessary to this case after all. It's great. I just knew Ponko must have seen something important. Murder committed right before this poor little girl's eyes. It's inexcusable. The judge seems ready to adopt Ponko as another grandchild. So, little Ponko, do you think you can give us your testimony today? I went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis, and then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything. After I charged up, I was cleaning the room, and Mr. Simon came in, and then an error occurred. There is no data after that point. Well, it sounds like the defendant was without question at the scene. However, it doesn't appear that the witness saw the actual moment of the murder. I disagree. This testimony shows that the defendant did indeed commit the crime. What? At the end of the day, we mustn't forget that the witness is still a machine. Being a robot, its understanding and capacity to express itself are limited. So what are you suggesting? The witness statements need to be interpreted. For example, the terms hugged and then later fell down. Adults don't usually fall down after being hugged by a child. They don't, but... Yes, what this witness statements are telling us is... that the defendant stabbed the victim with the murder weapon during this moment. What? Before Miss Sykes hugged Dr. Sykes, the two of them conversed. Yes, they did. They spoke to each other very loudly, but I don't know what they said. Athena is usually so quiet, so I was surprised. Spoke very loudly. We can interpret this to mean they argued. I see. Murder after heated argument, and then the victim fell down. I agree that it does sound like a reasonable interpretation. But Paco doesn't seem to remember anything that happened after that. What? When I am recharging, I go into sleep mode. But I remember everything before that. I have a very good memory. You may as well admit defeat now, right? A cross-examination will be useless. Don't be ridiculous. A cross-examination is never useless. Until now, think about it. Robots don't lie. This robot is both an important witness and valuable evidence at the same time. Nevertheless, I will have my cross-examination. See, you haven't changed. Never were one to worry about wasting time. Very well, and you never changed. You always seem to... you just seem to doubt right every turn, and he always fucking one-ups you, so... You're one to talk, Edgeworth. Very well, even if it may be a waste of time, you may proceed, Mr. Wright. I'll show you both just how fruitful any cross-examination can be.
Hold it!
I don't want to delve too deeply here, but could you tell us how the victim appeared and acted at this moment? My Mantis was very surprised when she was hugged. I heard her heart pound. Her heart? Mr. Wright, have you forgotten about this document we found in the robotics lab? These robots have a heartbeat detection system. Now that he mentions it, I do remember reading something like that there. They detect the presence of people by the sound of their heartbeats. But wait a minute. That means, if Dr. Sykes really did die at this moment... Ponko, how was Dr. Sykes after she fell down? Could you still hear the sound of her heartbeat? Let's see, the moment she fell, her heart was pounding. After that, I don't know. I started recharging just then. Of all the unlucky timing, if you had heard anything after that, it would have possibly proved that the hug wasn't actually the moment of the murder. I'm very sorry. I'm afraid I don't know. I'm very sorry. The robot is designed to go into sleep mode automatically, so it can't be helped. But it does appear it detected an increased heart rate at the moment of the stabbing. After Mami's heart started pounding in surprise, she fell by the window. It was the round window, on the workbench side of the room. The workbench, huh? Uncle must be talking about the table to the right of where that giant robot is now. Is there something critical in Paco's statement just now? There always is something. Your Honor, I believe this statement is critical. I'd like it added to her testimony. Very well. Paco, could you please add that statement to your testimony? That's a good little girl. Let's take a look at this photo here. As far as I can tell, this isn't the round window. There's no blood. It said the table near the round window. There's no blood. Yeah, so... it's this.
Objection!
Ponko, your statement may have just inspired a breakthrough. I was helpful? Hooray! I'm so happy! Just to be sure, let's go over it again, okay? The victim fell near the window on the workbench side of the room. However, her body was discovered on the operating table. But the operating table and the workbench are two different locations. Exactly, Your Honor. We just learned a new crucial fact. What could explain the two very different locations of the body? I'll tell you what. The victim moved. An 11-year-old girl couldn't have moved the heavy body of an adult. So the only explanation is that the victim walked to the operating table herself. In other words, what Panko observed near the workbench couldn't possibly have been the moment of the murder. Phew, I am very relieved to hear that. Glad to know that the murder wasn't committed in front of little Panko here. Yes, as we just heard in the testimony, Miss Sykes hugged her mother. Nothing more.
Objection!
Right. It's been 8 years, but you're still just as green as ever. Green? But I can't recall ever seeing Mr. Wright in anything but a blue suit. Hey, blue's my favorite color. What can I say? If the defendant couldn't move the body herself, she could have had it moved for her. But Miss Sykes and Dr. Sykes were the only ones there. I agree, since this robot is equipped with a heartbeat detection system. It would have been aware of another person's presence if someone else had been there. We can therefore conclude the defendant and the victim were the only ones present. Then who do you suggest move the body? Don't you know it's in the nature of a robot to help people do things? Miss Panko, allow me to ask you a question. My name is Panko! Say it with me! Panko! I believe you said you were cleaning after Dr. Sykes fell down. Did you happen to move something large onto the operating table? Yes, I did. Athena asked me to. Athena asked you to. And what did you move, little Panko? I don't know. Unless something has an ID tag, I can't tell what it is. An ID tag, you say? Yes, a tag with a barcode on it. We robots scan them to tell us what a thing is. That paper in the lab did mention something about that. Recognizing people by scanning their spacesuit or uniform jacket ID tag, it said. So it would appear that Miss Panko here can't identify what it moved. My name is Panko! But we humans have the power to imagine what it was. Do we not? Well, we do? Well, I do at the very least. Miss Panko, on the defendant's command, moved the body onto the operating table. Panko, did you really move Dr. Sykes' body? It's really important. Isn't there any way you could tell? I don't know. Without an ID tag, I can't tell. Give it up, Wright. The victim's heart was stopped. The robot's detection system would be useless. Furthermore, Dr. Sykes usually wore her white coat while she was working. She kept the jacket with an ID tag on it draped over a chair in the robotics lab, and only wore it for special occasions. In other words, the victim wasn't wearing her ID tag at the time. From the robot's point of view, her body was simply just another object. But Panko is equipped with a facial recognition system. If she really did move the victim, she would have recognized the body as Dr. Sykes, but she didn't. That means a face can easily be covered with a piece of cloth, a mask, or anything else for that matter. With her facial features hidden, the robot wouldn't be able to tell it was Dr. Sykes. He's right. To summarize, Miss Sykes stabbed her mother near the workbench. Then, using the robot, she moved the body to the table where she removed the sword and was stained in blood. Order. But if that's the case, then I have a question. Why did the defendant move the body to the operating table in the first place? God, I'm struggling with that voice for some reason. You want to reason? Very well. But you can't possibly have an explanation. Your emotions blind you to the truth. You can learn a lot from our robot friends. Calm and rational thought will open your eyes to the truth in front of you, Mr. Wright. Now then, do you remember the operating table's one special feature? I believe I read that robots can be assembled and disassembled there. Isn't that right? That's right. And to the defendant, who was just a child at the time, the table was like a magic box that could make robots appear or disappear in seconds. You can't possibly be suggesting. This young, sheltered girl had a difficult time distinguishing robots from people. But take a look at Paco's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that. She must have thought that machines heal in the same way that people do. Oh, okay. We literally just saw this. No way. I refuse to believe it. Miss Sykes made a childish, naive, and cruel mistake. She thought that if the robot could be dismantled and vanish without a trace... Prosecutor Edgeworth, if you're about to claim what I think you are, I demand that your word is as delicately as you can. With all due respect, Your Honor, all I can do is present the truth as it stands. The reason the defendant moved the victim's body to the operating table...
Hold it!
No! Don't say another word. Just stop. Was to dismantle the evidence so that she could get away with a crime. That can't be true! Order! Order in the court! Order in the court, I say! Edgeworth, she was just a little kid. How can you say such a horrible thing? Horrible? Like I said, you're just as green as ever. I came here today as a prosecutor to seek only the truth. No more, no less. My theory is simply the result of a rational consideration of every possibility.
Objection!
But dismantling isn't the table's only function. It can make repairs as well. It's conceivable that Miss Sykes moved her mother to the table in order to fix her. I suppose that could be another way of interpreting it. But dismantle or repair, it doesn't matter either way. What do you mean? After murdering her mother, Miss Sykes may have come to her senses. Perhaps she did want to make it appear as if it had never happened. And that's why she tried to repair her mother. Yes, that's one possible explanation. But we mustn't forget the facts of this case. The victim was observed to fall down after being hugged by the defendant, and the body was moved per the defendant's command. These two facts that indicate the defendant's guilt, remain unchanged. It just can't be true. Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence to refute the prosecution's claim? Evidence? Right. Let's see. I can't think of any. I'm afraid I don't have any evidence. Since becoming a chief prosecutor, I've learned that the truth isn't always pretty. Now, accept the truth, Mr. Wright. Your subordinate murdered her own mother. Your Honor, the prosecution demands a verdict. The hostages have suffered enough. What a terrible and tragic conclusion. The defense has no counter-argument. I see no need to further prolong this trial. This argument seems solid enough, but there's no way Athena could have ever done anything like that. What do I do? There has to be something, but I can't think of a single thing. Objection! Prosecutor Blackwell? This isn't quite the farce you are... This is quite the farce you are conducting here. I could die from laughter. Prosecutor Blackwell, what are you talking about? What am I talking about is that your argument is based on an entirely false premise. Go on, we're listening. This be the miracle I need. What is Prosecutor Blackwell trying to pull here? 7 years. For 7 long years, this case has been on my mind. Not for an instant did I not think of it. I'm the one who killed my mentor, and don't think you can alter that fact now. Your baldness, I will take the stand, but I won't take no for an answer. Of course, Prosecutor Blackwell, please go ahead. We will go ahead with that next time on Dual Destinies. Wow. It's so great to be back, you guys. I enjoyed this. What a twist we have here. We'll see what Professor Blackkill has to say, but I'm excited to be back to recording this series, and it won't be as frequent as it used to be. I only really have 1 day to really record, but we will manage. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Boney Time for more content, especially more Dual Destinies. Also, please make sure to share this series far and wide so we can reach as many eyeballs as possible. And I will see you next time.